resources. So that is the splash page right there. So to kind of give you a reminder of what OTAN offers. We'll go to the next slide. So today my presentation, of course it says presentation title on the top. It's supposed to say using using technology to amplify student voice. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to introduce a continuum that I found at a personalized learning symposium last year, and I was very interested. It's used in the K-12 world, and they kind of introduced a bunch of tech tools to help support student voice and how to incorporate student voice in your classroom. So what we will be doing today is view and discuss student voice continuum and tell you a little bit more about that. And I have a screenshot for you and the stages of the student voice continuum. We'll talk about and we'll differentiate and define the levels of the student voice and what technology tools that will help amplify student voice. So take a minute, a couple seconds to read this. You know, normally if I am in a room presenting and I can see you, I will have you read it and then we'll discuss it. But since I am online, I'll go ahead and read it. Some students are more than ready to say what's on their minds. Others are reluctant and even afraid to speak out. Students may not be aware that they even have a voice and or how to make their voices heard. School staff must continuously focus on enabling student voice and participation. How many of you agree with that statement? If I see a couple of yeses. Perfect. Thank you so much. So with student voice, it really gives the opportunity to allow students to share their thoughts, their views, and opinions on their educational journey, you know, what they're doing in their classes, what they're learning, right? It's not just I'm going to class and here is what my teacher displayed on the board today, or this is what my teacher talked about today, but rather, what am I involved in? What am I doing in my class? And what does it mean to me, right? So any expression of any learner about anything, anywhere, anytime related to learning and their school, right? And their educational journey. What it really is helping us do is it's helping create a stronger sense of membership. What does that mean? So a student walks into your classroom, yes, they need maybe ESL, maybe they need their high school diploma credits, maybe they need adult basic education, but what they really need is, now that they're over 18, is to be a part of something, to be a part of their educational system, their classes, their agency. So this really helps them with that journey. It instills that self-respect and self-worth in them. So who am I? Why am I doing this? Is it just to check a box? Or rather, how is it going to help me with my future? And, managing my learning and being able to have input about what they're going to be learning in their classes, and a sense of agency, right? The impact. Of course, then it also helps engage the disengaged student, perhaps. So this is the spectrum. This is the student voice continuum. So you can see here it has 6 stages: expression, consultation, participation, partnership, activism, and leadership. And we'll go through some of the different, so let's talk about each stage. So expression. So expression basically is where you're allowing your students to offer their opinions, their answers to questions. And it really creates the learner's profile and how they're able to learn best. In the consultation stage, you are, allowing them to provide feedback to what they're learning, giving them an opinion, giving them the opportunity to provide their opinion on what perhaps they want to learn, or what it is that will help you as the instructor help differentiate the learning if you need to, or assist them through their process. As far as participation, attends activities with role in decision making. So yes, they're in the learning, they're participating in the learning in class, but what does that mean? Is my student only in the class sitting in the seat as I lecture, or is there a part that they're actually giving you feedback on what it is that they want to learn? It helps them articulate actions and steps to meet those learning goals, establish learning goals, and meet their learning goals. And in partnership, this allows them to really collaborate with their teachers, with their fellow learners. And so I'll walk you through a couple of tools to help you with that. In the partnership phase, it also contributes to the design of the lesson and the project and assignment. So they're participating in the decision making and participation, but in partnership, it's really moving forward with those projects and assignments. And then there's activism, and I love this one because we are teaching adults. Our classroom has a variety of ages, 18 and up, and you have students from all over the world, from different walks of life, from every color, from every belief. And it's really important to, we oftentimes suggest to our students. Oftentimes they're scared. Oftentimes they don't feel like they have a voice to really include themselves in particular matters. Maybe it's in all social media. Maybe they're not allowed to. They feel that they don't really need to contribute to any of the information that they see in the news. So really, how do you incorporate some of those, identify the problems that are happening and what are current problems that are happening, and maybe help generate solutions about current issues. That's kind of where activism is lying. It's also allowing them to advocate for change if they see it fit in this country, outside of this, in our country, outside of our country, outside of school, in their personal lives, etc. And as far as leadership is concerned, we want all of our students to leave as leaders, right? Leaders in their learning, leaders in their households as parents. So really then allowing them to become a leader of change. Okay, so they are obviously, that one step leader of change is their step to going into class, learning, and then becoming better at home in their personal lives with their responsibilities, their outcomes, etc. So this also allows them to co-plan and make decisions, and it also allows them to accept responsibilities for their outcomes. All right. I'm going to dive deep into each, and I think we kind of talked about this in expressions, so just based off of the continuum. In the expression phase, students begin creating a personalized learning plan with a shared resource between the teacher and the student. So in this particular phase, where it's really teacher-centered, right? This is the teacher really controlling their students' their learning phase at this point, allowing them, the teacher is doing most of the work, allowing them to start creating their personalized learning plan. And so the next slide will dive deep into a couple of the response tools or teacher-driven discussion tools that will assist in delivering that expression phase. So many of you have probably heard about these variety of different tools that are out there that will assist you with response tools or teacher-driven discussion tools. But I will actually click on a few and we'll walk through a couple and see how they can assist you in your instruction. But really, the response tool is really allowing you for real-time feedback given to adjust instruction. So you're checking for knowledge and just determining, where they are in their learning. It allows you to get fast responses, grading. It gives you data and graphs to help you assist your learners. In teacher-driven discussion tools, this really allows the teacher and the student to communicate and discuss and provide a platform where students could communicate with their teachers and peers. And it allows the teacher to really establish the tone and set the question, and then the students are discussing it with their peers and have a space where they feel like they can ask questions or communicate with some of their fellow students. So in our response tools, we might be using Kahoot, and Kahoot is a basically prior knowledge check for understanding, and it's a game. How many of you, if I can show, a couple of Y's for yes, how many of you know about Kahoot? Okay, perfect. I've used it. Okay, good. So Kahoot, along with quizzes, along with Quizalize, along with Nearpod, Plickers, and Socrative, I think I always say that wrong, are really platforms to help check for understanding. So you set the question, and your students are then answering those questions. So much like Kahoot, quizzes, Nearpod, Plickers, and such are platforms to help give feedback on instruction. Um, so I don't want to, I have a lot of tools to share with you today. You are going to have my PowerPoint presentation, so I am going to give you all those links. So each one of the Kahoot, Nearpod, Plickers, any one of these that are underlined will actually take you, if you so on the PowerPoint, now I can't do it on my screen, but on the PowerPoint itself, once you download it, if you right click and hit the hyperlink, it'll open up your ability to go directly to that link. Um, so with that being said, I'm not going to spend too much time on response tools, but I do want to show you a little bit on the other side with teacher-driven discussion tools. And what I like, I mean, I love all of these resources. Google Classroom, basically a platform. I call it a fancy folder. I don't know if the Google folks will necessarily agree with me, but really it allows an organization opportunity for the teacher to just file all their information in a particular space, and then students have a code and they enter that space. So it's kind of like, some people compare it to a learning management tool like Moodle or Canvas, but it's really lighter than that. It's just a space where students have files that are organized for them in that specific place. And it allows for discussions and just, again, a safe space, a class space. Padlet is a board that allows I'm just giving you suggestions here, allows for teachers to post a question and then allow feedback from students to answer a particular item. So just like response tools, Kahoot, checking for understanding, Padlet could fit that as well. Or you can just a quick place for maybe introductions. Students will, or an ongoing Q&A, frequently asked questions board. There's a world of possibilities with what you can do with Padlet. As far as Flipgrid is concerned, this is where I'm going to try to stop sharing my PowerPoint. And then I want to share my screen. And okay, so I think right now, okay, everybody could see my Flipgrid. And Flipgrid is fantastic. Flipgrid is an opportunity for you, the teacher, to have a specific grid that my grid, here, I'm going to go back to my grids, this is my home page. And I can go to my grids here and I'll show you I have one grid. I called it test. Excuse my lack of creativity here. But then I'm given a flip code. It tells you a little bit about my activity here. But so I named it Anyone Can Use Flipgrid. You can name it, introduce yourself to your fellow classmates and use this as a platform perhaps to for your students on a regular basis to upload a video introducing themselves, so that when you have students that come in the middle of the semester or in the middle of the month, one of the assignments for them as they walk in the class is go on Flipgrid, meet your fellow classmates, and perhaps record another video so that they know who you are. So here's Anyone Can Use Flipgrid. That was the name of my grid. And then I have students in here who recorded videos for me. Okay, introducing themselves. I think I have one of my coworker, Marjorie. So there's she. All right, so, and then she's able to upload this to my Flipgrid by using my specific flip code, and you as a teacher are able to send instructions to your students on how they can access your Flipgrid. So as soon as you create it, and as much as I want to go through the steps of creating a Flipgrid, unfortunately, I feel like that might eat a lot of our time, but I encourage you to go on flipgrid.com and play. It's very self-explanatory. You create your Flipgrid, and then once you're done creating your Flipgrid, it'll allow you the opportunity to share. And that will be your link on how students would be able to access your Flipgrid. Once you give them that link, they will move on to your page, to your grid, which looks like this, and then it will ask them what is it that they want to do, and it'll prompt them to record their responses. Okay, so let me try to get back, and Veronica trained me on this. All right, let's get back to our PowerPoint. All right, Microsoft Teams does something very similar. It allows, if you're using Microsoft Suites, you can use the option for Teams, and this also allows you to help your students collaborate together and discuss anything that you really post as a question specifically to a subject, and or perhaps, like I said, some sort of orientation tool for new coming students, etc. All right, we're moving on to the consultation phase, and so I am going to read the text I have here. During the consultation phase, conversations begin to occur between teacher and student to identify strengths, interests, and learning challenges. This set of digital tools will allow teachers to manage many students at various levels. Okay, so we're talking about, how to engage students. So how do we allow students to provide feedback? So when we go to the next slide, this will give you, so I swear my PowerPoint looked great. I mean, there's a lot of text on each slide, which is a total no-no, by the way. But there's so many resources that I wanted to share with you today. So I will try to clean this up and send Veronica another tool. The good news is when you download it, it's not going to look like this. I feel like the way it's shared on the screen in Adobe is probably what's making it a little wacky. So I apologize, but we're going to work through this. So for tools that help you support consultation would be surveys, forms. If you're already using Google Forms, maybe you're using them for assessments, maybe you're using them for surveys. I'm not going to go into this too much because I tend to find that people do know how to use survey tools, digital survey tools. I'm not going to go into the actual tool. But so with these tools, developing personal plans for students, you can ask them, you can create a form for them. So this is still teacher-centered. So the teacher is still in charge here, right? So you start the survey, you're asking them for the feedback, you're creating this information for them, but you're using the tools to gather that information. So some of the suggestions here is to develop a learning plan for your students, ask about their strengths and weaknesses, or not weaknesses, right? We don't want to mention that, but their interests, their strengths, their some of their challenges that they may be facing. And you can make this anonymous, I mean, so that they feel safer in class. But it just still allows them the opportunity to engage. And the information will be sorted and can be customized and searchable. So you as a teacher have access to this information, and surveys fit specific standards and strategies. So it just really is up to the teacher at this point. What is it that you want to get? What is it that you want your students to share with you, and how can you make their experience in your class best for them? What is the most useful for them? In adaptive learning, we have a couple of different tools here, and some of them you might find a little kiddie on the K-12 side, but Really, these tools that I'm sharing with you today, I feel like are very valuable for the adult basic education, adult secondary education community, because oftentimes what I see or hear, or when I was in the field, there was a lack of specific adaptive learning for adults that needed to target specific, like science, for example. How do you find more science material, supplemental material? How do you find more social studies material, supplemental items here? So I'm hoping to open up a couple of these so that you can see and we can walk through a couple of the options there. So with adaptive learning, you're able to see their areas of strength if they need any remediation, helps them progress through standards, and okay, let's see, and then the rest of the information here has left the page. I apologize. And then of course you can gather data to help assist your learners. But let's go to Zern, and I am going to have to let's see, log in. It's going to take me 2 seconds. And then share my screen. So, all right, let's do that first. Let me share my screen. So I lied to you. We are using IXL, not Zern. I clicked on IXL by accident. So let's log in here. And so this is adaptive practice, adaptive learning for specific areas. So, you might find here, I probably won't even have to log in. For IXL, personalized learning in this particular area would be, math, language arts, science, social studies. You might find some of your students in the 12th grade realm, right? That you can probably help them with some of their math functions to better understand and find supplemental material. But not only that, you have supplemental material, but these are actual adaptive learning practices. So you can create an account with IXL and you can create a class, and your students that need assistance in these specific areas could log in and find activities, adaptive practices that can help supplement some of the learning in your classroom. So this was a math for 12th grade, but again, for those high school equivalency students, maybe you're looking for a little bit more science. It tells you the grade level, but really think outside the box here. So where are our students? Where are our learning level students, right? So often I got over the fact that I wasn't going to get, I used to get a little upset when I saw material for K-12, but I didn't see anything for adult ed. But then when I finally got over that stage, I found that our adult learners are in some of these grade levels. So some of the 8th grade sciences in this particular case might help your students in adult basic education. They might be helping your students in the high school equivalency courses, right? So depending, I know for a fact, high set, I don't know about you, but when I was at one of our schools as a coordinator, we had a hard time with our students passing the science portion of the test. So anyway, this kind of helps you, provides you not only with supplemental material, but an interactive, adaptive learning space as well. All right, I'll stop talking about IXL and I'll move on. But if you have questions, go ahead and ask, please. All right. Let's get back to the PowerPoint. So Learn Zillion is the same, Freckle is the same, Zern is the same as IXL. Again, you might find some of them are less kitty than others. I know Freckle is somewhat less colorful as far as like making a little bit more neutral, not as kitty-like, but Zern is probably on the more kitty side, but again, if you can find some of the resources to help assist your adult learners, I think, going past that grade level matter, I think you'll find some really good information here. Another one that's not listed here that I should have listed here is CK12. So make a note of that. CK12 is another resource where you will find adaptive learning processes as well. All right, I'm moving on to the next stage of the continuum. I do see some typing, so if people are asking questions, okay, thank you, Diana, is sharing with you CK12. And actually, what I can do is I can probably pull up the, there we go, the URL so that you guys can have a direct link here. Okay, there we go. So in the participation phase, I see some people typing, and I'm afraid that I'll move on to participation, and I might have some questions to answer in consultation. So, any of these platforms able to use on a standalone computer? Yes, yes, they are. So you can use them on standalone computers. Some of them are apps. We haven't dug deep into the apps. I mean, most of them are on standalone computers, and then they're also offered as apps. So so then yes, so you have that option. Some of them are only web-based, and you can only use them on a standalone computer, and but all of them are used on both platforms. Yes, and at the end there will be a Q&A session, section where you can ask questions. But feel free if you have a question along the way, and you need to stop me, that's okay too. Maybe you might have a question that the rest of our participants might have as well. Okay, checking for time, and I have a long ways to go. So I might be zooming through here, but again, you'll have my PowerPoint presentation to go back on. I'll leave my contact information so you can contact me so I can assist you with some of these tools. So, all right, in the participation phase, or stage, the begins to move, excuse me, into a more learner-centered phase where students are planning and making decisions based on their personal goals and interests. Learners are taking on roles in decision-making in their learning community. So they are either attending activities that help in their decision making, or they're articulating actions and steps to meet their learning goals. So let's look at a couple of those tools. All right, so some of these creativity tools creativity or blogging tools might sound interesting to you, and I am not going to be able to go into each individual one because I have two other, actually we're in participation. I still have partnership, activism, and leadership, so I might not be able to go into every tool. So in blogging tools, you can share ideas, and the students have the ability to write and share their ideas with their classmates. They share different formats such as drawings and videos. Allows them to be a little bit more creative, and presentation tools, for example, and we'll go into that a little bit in creativity. So it allows them to express their learning and their ideas. So 365 Project, I'll talk about that. I won't go into it. 365 Project is an online picture journaling tool. And basically, you have a picture for each day of the year, and then you can ask students to express their thoughts about that particular picture for each day of the year. So if you know you are going to have a student for a while, why not have them create a 365 project? Not only are you going to be able to see their progression, right? But you can actually encourage them to take pictures every day of something, whether it's, a specifically learning idea or explaining something, or maybe it's just a fun activity and they're just taking a picture of nature and explaining what they saw today. But either way, they take a picture, they upload it to the platform, they explain, they describe what it is, and then they have a calendar view of pictures that they took throughout the year. I think this is a fun tool to kind of engage your students in, and also it's a fun tool for them to take back and maybe create a journal with their children. So how cool is that? Is to have a family 365 project and have a journaling tool where your children can probably upload. So again, some of these tools you'll definitely see that they can use in at home in their personal lives. EduBlogs is an area where they get to blog about the things that they're feeling, the things that they're learning. They can invite their classmates to contribute to that. They could read other blogs and learn about what's going on. In creativity tools, what I love, so I'm only going to talk about two right here. So Do Ink Green Screen. Love this. What it is, it's basically your picture and behind you is a green screen and you get to choose what you want behind you. So your students could be a space, your students can be in Europe, and they can explain a story. Some of you may have heard Adobe Spark and that digital storytelling aspect of things, and this kind of gives you the same idea. Do Ink Green Screen is only an app, so you can, for that question earlier, are these platforms used on a standalone computer? Do Ink Green is an iOS app. And so I really like this one because it really allows them to be a little bit more creative, maybe where they want to be. Maybe they want to be back home, maybe that's where, maybe they're telling a story about where they come from. So for our ESL community or for any one of our students for that matter. So doing green screen is fun. I definitely encourage you to incorporate it in your classroom. Microsoft Sway. So Microsoft Sway I learned about last year at a technology conference, and I thought it was the most amazing tool ever. It was basically an interactive PowerPoint. So again, if you're teaching your students how to present and you want them to use a different tool, Microsoft Sway gives them the opportunity to you have images, they can incorporate images and discuss their images, but it's in one platform. PowerPoint allows you slides. Well, this kind of, takes you through a journey of slides and interactive tools and it all encompassed in one. So Microsoft Sway is just a fun way to present. Clearly, I need to get on that wagon because I'm still using PowerPoint and I have way too many texts on my slide. But that's neither here nor there. I definitely need to get on the Microsoft Sway wagon. So these opportunities, all these apps that I'm sharing with you today, really all of them are helping increase motivation and engagement. So the creativity tools really allow for that and allow for sharing and showing off, giving yourself some credit and showing your adult students that they have the ability to be creative as well, not just their teacher. Okay, in addition to that, creation fosters the increased ownership and you can create an action plan towards a goal. So maybe that's your idea is where are your goals, and they can create presentations based on their goals. Okay. Moving on to partnership. Okay, partnership is when learners begin to make plans that contribute to lessons, lead and take action based on the work with their peers. Brainstorming and learning community discussions begin to evolve. So in this particular stage, you're really still fostering that collaboration with their teacher, collaboration with their fellow students. And also allows them to contribute to the design of the lesson, some of the projects that they might be doing in class, and some of the assignments. And really, what I forgot to tell you, in participation in partnership, you're really getting into learner-centered instruction. Remember, the first two were very teacher-centered, but now you're learner-centered. Really, it's about their creativity and what they're doing and what you're allowing them to do. So for partnership, online learning communities or discussion tools. So unfortunately, I can't go into these. I wish we had more time, and I still have a lot to cover. So in online learning communities, these are tools that allow students to share with a partner, or teacher, or parent. So it's a learning space, kind of like Google Classroom. We've talked about that a little bit ago. And Microsoft Teams also allows you to create a space where you can interact with your teacher or your partners in class. So an area and a space for peers to be online community. I love that they mentioned Minecraft here because yeah, I mean technically you can go in there and create your own village and your own space and communicate with peers. But I know our adults won't do that. But I thought, hey, if there was a teacher out there that can see the value of Minecraft in adult ed, I dare you and see what your students might do with it. They might have fun with it. I'm not sure, but I know that we're super sensitive with our adult learners, and we want to make sure that they don't feel like they're in child settings. But I definitely want to give you some of the options and see if you can think maybe this will work in my class with my particular community of students. So basically we'll go down the line here. So it's telling you a little bit about what you can do through Skype and Teams, lend themselves a social and creative learning ability. This also allows them to publish their learning in many different ways and can get feedback from their peers. So Seesaw is basically a class space. Edmodo is a class space. Class Dojo is a class space. And Class Dojo might be a little bit on the kiddie side. Each student represents a little tiny monster. So, I mean, probably that one won't necessarily work. But Microsoft Teams is a great collaborative space as well. And you can invite your students. If you're using Microsoft tools at your agency, at your district, and you have Office 365, you'll find Microsoft Teams. If your students have login information for that, maybe you want to use it with your teachers in your teaching community. Maybe you're a lead teacher and you want to get together your ESL group, or I don't know. I mean, just there are different ways where online learning and collaboration can happen using Microsoft Teams. Okay, discussion tools. So another way you can discuss and have that partnership piece and collaborate with the students can collaborate with their teachers, students can collaborate with their fellow peers, is using, again, Flipgrid, which I demonstrated a little while ago, Recap, and Zoom video conferencing. I mean, Zoom does cost money if you're getting more than one license, but I mean, if you're just getting one license, I believe it is free, and you may not be able to invite that many people or hold a whole online meeting, but it does give the student the opportunity to probably collaborate with one other student, maybe with their teacher. And also, what about the training that they're going to gain from learning how video conferencing works, right? So with discussion tools, students are documenting and sharing learning independently for review by peers or with their teachers. They use the tools collaboratively, can share learning or teach a concept for peers to view, can record questions and have running conversations with peers. And so, yeah, let's see, what am I missing here? Okay, I'm going to open up some classroom. Okay, let's move on to my next slide. All right, so these are tools for participation. Again, learner-centered. These particular two are learner-centered. So let's talk about activism, okay? So when we talked about activism, activism requires students to reach outside of their world and make connections and learn from others. Students begin to realize each other's differences and their impact on the world by making connections through social media. Okay, so social media is here. Social media is here to stay. Social media is, if anything else, it's growing. So how do we use this for learning, right? And how do we connect? How do we teach our students to be smart online, right? And what does it mean? So activism identifies problems and generates solutions, right? So you might identify through news, through social media a problem, and then and students in this particular stage could generate a solution. And then they could be activists for change themselves in school and out of school. So a couple of the tech tools that are supporting the activism stage using the voice continuum. You can use social media tools, Twitter, is a fantastic social media platform that allows students to reach outside the classroom walls and reach their peers across the globe, okay, so that they might have people that they know and or subjects and ideas that might be happening all over the world through Twitter. YouTube is the monster that it is, and we love it very much. It teaches us a bunch of things. We can tune into YouTube and find a YouTube video. It's become that, okay. We always say let's Google it. Now it's let's YouTube it, right? So there's so many things to learn that are outside the walls of your classroom. So let's YouTube it might be appropriate to really understand if there's a specific topic that you're trying to address that supports the activism stage, where they can find it on YouTube or they can find that subject on Twitter and or Pinterest for that matter. Pinterest is a board where everybody is posting a variety of different subjects, and Pinterest is another location where you can help students really support that activism piece in their learning. So use video responses to create a call for action to solve a problem. Help generate solutions worldwide. Create a call to action to benefit others. Create a personal learning network by choosing who to follow and gain information from, right? That's a really important piece to teach our students, right? And really, we're entering tools now. Remember, we did teacher-driven tools, we did learner-driven tools, or learner-centered, I'm sorry, teacher-centered, learner-centered, but now we're kind of entering the realm of learner-driven. So now they're in charge of their learning. That's the key, that they're in charge of their learning and they're finding the resources and areas where they would want to learn. And again, social media is that area for most of our students. Yes, we might have a few that are not yet there, and they might open up the newspaper or might listen to the news for their how they're getting that information, and that's okay too. But using some of the tech tools to support this is key. Okay, let's see. All right. So another way, oh gosh, my images are covering the screen. I'm so sorry. Okay, so Google explorations here, explorations. So basically these are virtual reality spaces, and students could actually find themselves in a different country, in a different city. Flipgrid Grid Pals is very K-12 centered, but again, I encourage you to enter that space to really see how our students can explore other areas, other cultures, other other cultures if they're learning from each other states if they're learning of different laws across the state. So Flipgrid, Grid Pals, Google Expeditions, and Skype collaborations. I think I'm going to try to go into Skype collaborations and just see how that works with time. Let me just switch it up a little bit. So 1 second. Okay. Skype collaborations. I really like this one. And you know what I really like about it is that your students can find a specific topic to learn about and discuss with other students across the globe. So let's filter by age group. And let's say we want material for ages 18 and above. But then we can filter by subject area. Okay. Let's see. Reading and writing. Okay. And skill development. Well, okay. How about, oh, I love this project-based learning one, or communication. Let's do communication. Okay, so then now it allows you to connect globally with somebody that is about a specific topic. So you have stories from around the world. I draw what I love to do with my parents and Okay, so this resource really allows you to collaborate with other students across the globe. Yes, this is a picture of a K-12 classroom. So, but I do want to remind you, when you filtered, you had an age group that was 18 and above. So there are resources on Skype collaborations that address the 18 and above. So don't you lose hope on it just yet. Please, dive a little deeper into Skype collaborations. You will find platforms that address our adult learners as well, where they can collaborate and talk to other adult students around the world. I see some questions. I just see a bubble. I can't see the questions just yet. So 1 second as I transition to the PowerPoint. Oh, okay, perfect, Maureen. Thank you so much. So Maureen was saying that Vimeo is another social media tool or video tool that you can use as far as, she says, it's a good alternative to the rabbit hole of YouTube, which is true. I mean, there's a huge library on YouTube, but Vimeo is definitely an alternative. Thank you, Maureen. All right, we are reaching leadership, which is our final stage, and okay, we have a couple more minutes here, so good. This is the top and the most learner-driven stage. Learners are self-directed and are creating and making a difference in the world. The teacher becomes the advisor and provides feedback and support. So here, really with leadership, it really just guides your students, guides your group of students as leaders of change, and really allows them to be co-planners and collaborate to make some of the decisions. And it also helps them accept responsibility for their outcomes. So some of the tools that can help them with their leadership would be so there's Genius Hour, and then there's Google Experiences, or Global Experiences, rather. So again, I'm not, just an opportunity to kind of have a discussion at the end of this presentation. I'd like to allow for Q&A and see if some of you have used any of these resources, how you might use some of these resources, etc. So for Genius Hour, you have different opportunities to create, for your students as leaders to create or choose an inquiry-based question or problem, and then how it is that they might provide a solution for it. Collect personal research and drive their own learning in order to find a solution to the problem or answer the question. Any tool could fall into this category if a student is the leader. So any tool that we've been discussing could fall into this category. So some of the resources that I have for you here are Worldwide Workshop, Scratch, you have Google Lit Trips. Google Lit Trips is definitely more on the K-12 side, but you might find some benefit here with Google Lit Trips. Google Expeditions, if you're wanting to learn about different areas all over the world, you can basically travel the world with Google Expeditions. And then Google Sites, a collaborative space where they actually are leaders and develop their own experiences and their own ability, their own sites, giving them the opportunity to develop their own space. For global experiences, students are connected and have resources globally that are filled with projects and examples. So if you want to do a more global project with your students, allowing them to take the lead to create this project, the students are able to find a cause that is local and or global, and they might find personally interesting, and they call to action, and they ask help from others. And students are able to connect with communities that are specific or similar needs. We.org is a group that is centered about of change and how to become leaders. We.org is very much K-12 heavy, but start thinking about, even if we see something like this that is K-12 heavy, what does it mean for our adults? Okay, maybe our young adults that maybe want to do a little bit of mentoring and see how they fit in that K-12 world and how they can help their K-12 students, their K-12 learners. So if they are contributing or collaborating with global experiences and using some of these links that I share with you today, you're helping that young adult, your adults to learn more about what's going on in the K-12 world and how they can support and mentor some of their younger children, their younger siblings, etc. All right, let's see what I have next. Okay, so we did talk about a bunch of different resources that support student voice. Edutopia has a phenomenal set of resources. ISTE has a set of resources. There is a course. There is a Microsoft Educator Community course and kind of a blog that you can tune into through Microsoft Educator Community. And our very own Anthony Burrick here at OTAN wrote a interesting article on amplifying student voice. And let me share that with you. Okay, so we have giving students a voice in your classroom, and so he discusses, goes through each individual, talks about the student voice and how to amplify student voice, but then some additional resources to support amplifying the student voice. So if you haven't already done so, definitely I encourage you to tune into some of those links that I gave you if you're interested in this subject and you think that you'll be able to help assist and want to incorporate more of the student voice continuum in your classes. All right, let me go back to my PowerPoint. All right, these are my references, and I'm going to close this out by saying please subscribe and become a member of OTAN, so otan.us, and you can become a member, and we will send you information on whenever we are offering a workshop and or a webinar and or a tech talk that we do monthly. So I definitely encourage you to become members of OTAN. It's free, by the way. I also encourage you to subscribe to OTAN's YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter. And those are specific URLs. So OTAN serves adult education for YouTube, OTAN serves adult education for Facebook, and then OTAN on Twitter. My name is Netta Anasari. Thank you so much. This went really, really fast. It helps me talk super fast because I get nervous presenting webinars, as you can tell. I'm sure you can tell. So I'm going to give us, we have a couple minutes here before we end, and I wanted to give everybody an opportunity to ask questions. So this is your chance. Feel free to type in your questions into the chat pod, and I will look over some of the questions here and hopefully help you as much as I can. Are all of these products free? Okay, so yes, all of these products are free. You might find some that are, if you want a specific tool, it's like a freemium model. So you have free, you have options for free, and it only gives you a certain capacity. But like Microsoft Forms, Microsoft Teams, I'm sorry, Google, anything Google is free, right? Through your @Gmail, or maybe you might have something through your agency, like a Google Suite account with your agency. So anything Google, you'll know is free. Microsoft, you have to have the Microsoft Suites at your district, at your school. So, and if you do, then yes, it's free. Any of the other resources that we went over today, like Kahoot is free, Flipgrid is free. Flipgrid, it's free to an extent, right? You get like one grid, but you only need one grid. You don't need several. So you can reuse that grid with each class. You can do a variety of different things. So if you want more than one grid, sure, you're going to have to buy it. But you don't necessarily need it. Um, Padlets, I think they give you, I can't even remember. I think they give you a two, three Padlets. But again, you don't necessarily need two or three. You need one board, one Padlet. So uh, again, I mean, it just depends on some of the resources, but what I've given you today, there is a free version of that tool that I shared with you today. Okay, I see that Penny was answering some questions, so I'm not going to go back to any of those unless I need to. Let's see. Okay. Did Penny, so I it says looking for solution in an area with no or unreliable internet connectivity. And I have a tool for you. Okay, Penny does have a tool for you, offline. Um, right, so Rachel is the offline device. And Penny does a training on that. And it's a remote learner access tool that people in corrections could use, perhaps in rural areas that there is very little to no connection. Um, all right, let's see if I have any other questions regarding, let's see if there are any questions with some of the tools that I shared with you today. Are any of you using some of the tools that I sent you today? How are you using them? How can you incorporate them in the um, how can you incorporate the student voice continuum in your class? Have you ever heard of it before? I know I'm like asking you a ton of questions. Pick the one you want to answer. Don't just don't answer with a yes because I don't know which one you're answering to. So elaborate on some of my questions here with an answer that so yeah, are you using any of the tools? How are you using them? Do you think you can incorporate the continuum? And so yes, let me share with you the students. I'm going to share. Anthony asked a really good question. Where is the student continuum from? And I want to share with you, it's personalizedlearning.com. And basically the world of personalized learning is how do we make it more beneficial for the students, and how we can make their learning more personable, more personalized for them, and then how do we make them leaders of their learning. So here's a link to personalizedlearning.com, and it'll tell you a little bit more about the continuum of voice and what it means and where it came from and who developed it. And you know, it also correlates with the universal design of learning, so you'll see that as well. Kahoot as a review. Okay, so you use Kahoot as a review tool, Matthew. Great, fantastic. Kahoot is a great tool, and if you're using it and you like it, I would encourage you to use quizzes. I will encourage you to use Quizalize if you're trying to change it up a little bit. Those are also other review tools. I have used, okay, so I have Patricia, and she's used Flipgrid in the past. Okay, so is it not so so you like do you like Flipgrid? Let's see. Um oh, very cool. So we have all right. And so for yourself, but I know, I mean, do you see yourself using it with any of your learners? I like that you demoed it, and I like that you have used it yourself, but how does it fit into your classroom right now? How do you feel that you can use it in your classroom? Okay, good. I'm glad Maureen is using the whole Google Suites. Good. So Microsoft, I mean, Google Forms, Google Docs, great collaborative spaces, right? Even slides, right? So I talked to you a little bit about Microsoft Sway, but there's also slides. So absolutely, Google Classroom. Okay, Marina's used Padlet before. Excellent. Absolutely. Slides are great for project-based learning. I totally agree. All right. Set a couple more questions here. Veronica, we doing okay on time? Okay, let's see. So do students resist this tech? How do you help break the ice for students that may be reluctant to use the tech? Yeah, so I think, we all have different strategies as far as using tech. So, it's never this is the way we're going to do it and this is the only way we're going to do it. But I do encourage you to introduce it and use it with the small group that is interested, because ultimately what will happen is everybody's going to want to do what, the fun new thing that the other students are going to do. So, I mean, to me, it's not that we're going to do it this way and this is the only way, rather than giving them, your students the option. They will resist depending on the age group, depending on the comfort level, depending on the literacy level for that matter. But I think the main idea here is to use it with the group that it's ready to use it with, and have an alternative method for those that are not ready. And eventually you'll get, a large percentage that would want to use that. You may feel as a teacher that you're teaching two different levels or two different classes, but aren't we already doing that in adult ed? So that's my take on it. I hope that helped. Okay, so Patricia, I liked it and I will try it out with my students for collaborative feedback. Great, fantastic, that's exciting. I love it. Flipgrid, that's what Patricia's going to be using. I'm really curious to hear how you feel about it, Patricia. So, and if you guys need any additional assistance. So I'm going to type in my information and how to reach me so that I can help. I really wish somebody will take this continuum and start using it in their class so that they can provide some feedback and I could then show off and say, and they're using it at this agency in this class for this particular way. I just want to use a more California, because I learned about the Student Voice Continuum in a different state at a personalized learning conference, and it looked like other states were really using it heavily in their classroom, and especially in K-12. So I really wanted to bring it back and I wanted everybody kind of to see the value of it in California, but really the value of it with our adult learners. So the challenge of the day is to really take this continuum and incorporate it in your classroom, and then work with me to send me some stories so that I could use it as, here, we're using it in California and this is what it looks like. I don't know if anybody accepts that challenge. Crickets. Of course, that's what I've been hearing the whole time. So anyway, thank you everyone for staying online. Hopefully you learned a thing or two. And if you have any other questions, I posted my information on how to reach me. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
All right. Thank you, Netta, and thank you everyone for participating in today's webinar. We hope that you got something out of this and were able to use the tools and resources that were discussed. I have posted the URL of where the PowerPoint as well as the recording from today's webinar will be located on the California Adult Education Program website, so please be sure to check out those resources and also pass it along to others who were unable to attend today's webinar with us. I'm about to close the the webinar, and when I do, an evaluation will appear. Please be sure to complete this evaluation to let Netta know what you thought about today's webinar, and if there are any other professional development topics in the technology integration realm that you would like to see offered via CAEP Technical Assistance Project. Again, thank you all very much for participating. We hope that you got a lot out of it, and we hope to see you soon. Have a great day.